Welcome back, everybody, to the World Championship Series. The audience has been pretty fun here. The crowd has been awesome. And for you guys at home, we found at Borsty's in the crowd right there. Hello? So, moving on, guys. We've had a couple of games down. We've had some expected results, potentially. We've had an interesting series that we just saw. What has stood out so far in these matches, Roddy?
I mean, the first series, I'm still kind of like trying to wrap my brain around the builds that we actually saw. Like game one was Mech and Bio at the same time, not something we see super often. I think the only other European Terran that sometimes does it is Beastie. He has a few builds like that, but that's not something you see very often. And in game number two, I actually thought the start, it was going really well for Kelazhur. Yeah. So I was all right, this is where the drop season starts. And then he drops Rex number 4 and 5. He opens up with 5 Rexes on Cactus Valley. I'm just like, I'm kind of blown away by what's going on. So that's definitely something that's like a series that stands out in a way that I remember it for being weird. And game number 2, well, it's TvZ. You have to love it or you hate it. Yeah. There were definitely a couple of very cool timings in it.
Well, let's take a look at the bracket for you guys at home, just to have a look at what we're looking at as well, and to see where we are, because we have match 3 and match 4. As well as match 5 eventually on the way. We have Lilbo versus Hydra in the winners match, which won't be played now, it will be played in a little bit because we got some serious business to get down to, Pig. We have to, unfortunately, lose one of these players in the round of 32. Kelazhur had a fantastic season 1, still lost in the round of 32, but his performance was excellent. Snute was top 8 and is now facing an elimination. This is a massive game for both sides.
Absolutely, it was always going to come down to this point where one of these players, sadly, is going to go. And if it was any of these 4 players, it's always going to be sad. And I think some people watching might be thinking, well, Kelazhur went down 0-2, to Lilbao, whereas Snute's set there was exceptionally close against Hydra. And I mean, we would favor Snute going into this match, but on the other hand, Kelazhur's TvZ is actually his strongest matchup. Interestingly enough, we are seeing that Snute is actually picking Coda as the first map. Kelazhur picked Expedition Lost and Cactus Valley for the 3rd map.
What do you think about this map pool then? Let's talk from Kelazhur's perspective to begin with. How is this map for him? We know he's going up against a pretty difficult opponent in Snute. He's a massive favorite to advance from this. What do you think about this?
I think Coda's a little bit of the overgrowth of 2015. I think for Kelazhur, looking at this map, he's thinking it's pretty standard. I think it's maybe a little bit Zerg favored in that there's a lot of wide open areas on this map, but I don't think anyone feels particularly uncomfortable here.
Roddy?
I totally agree when it comes to Coda. I already mentioned that a little bit as well. It's a map that most players will look at as like, all right, if I'm not a gimmicky, weird player, I probably like Coda because it just plays out in a very fair way. If I think back of the Kelazhur that made such a good and remarkable name for himself in that first season of WCS, do you remember his non-stop aggression against TLO? Yeah. Of course, those games were a little bit wild and bizarre, but his drop play, like once it started, it didn't stop. And I just hope that we'll see something like that. It's going to be hard though, because I think Snute is a much more defensive player than TLO. Probably won't do something too crazy. So if you want to bring aggression, it has to be well thought out. You can't just be attacking for the sake of attacking into a guy that's expecting it to come. But hopefully we'll see, 1 or 2 things going Kelazhur's way, because then I think we're in for a treat. Then it could be a very nice series where we see a lot of aggression, some being successful, maybe some unsuccessful. But if the first 2-3 drops will be shut down, then it's going to be a very rough series for him.
I mean, put yourself in Snute's position right now. He's lost the first match in a very close service to Zerg. He's now going up against a Terran, which I'm sure he feels confident about taking on. But what does he need to look out for against Kelazhur? Is it the armory coming down, for example? Is it the Hellbat pushes, which have caught so many Zergs off guard in the past? What is it that he's got to be careful of?
I think you've already said the word that Snute needs to watch out for there. It is the Hellbats. Kelazhur's renowned for having very strong Hellbat pushes. I think a lot of the TvZ matchup lately, even at the highest levels in Korea, as well as in the international scene, it's about the Zerg trying to get that economy up so they can spread that creep across the map, get the Noodling, Baneling going. But the Terran, on the other hand, they're coming in with these sharp surprise Hellbat timings. And often what it comes down to is if the Terran chooses to deny scouting very well, the Zerg has to toe a very fine line. So I think Snute's going to be looking to toe that line. Kelazhur, on the other hand, who knows, maybe he'll change up from what he's known for and actually throw in just some very economic 3cc builds, maybe denying scouting, so Snute maybe over-defends a little bit and maybe alternating between the extreme of greed on one hand and the extreme of aggression in the next game.
What do you think's going through his mind right now, Roddy? He's honestly
Rio de Janeiro, beaches, sunshine.
life back in Brazil.
No, I have no idea, but he was in some very deep thoughts, so it's hard to say. I think for the most important thing for Kelazhur is just he shouldn't freak himself out too much, just stick to what you're good at. We know that he's capable of playing some very fine TvZ, and momentum is going to be key for him. That first series, not a whole lot of momentum that he can carry away from that one, so he's got to start from zero again, start from scratch, and just hope that, the helmet push will do some damage, that he can start his drop season off the back of like Snute maybe having a slightly weaker economy. But yeah, it's all momentum based, I think, for him.
Okay, guys. Well, before we go to the casters, one final question for you, Pig, here is what are some of the feelings as a player that's lost the first match, now going into the second match, facing elimination? Everybody's obviously going to be different from what they're going through, but what are some of the similarities that you think these two are going through that you've experienced yourself?
I think it's a feeling of despair that players often sometimes you start to feel, and it's about how you deal with that feeling of loss. Maybe you're a little bit embarrassed with how you played, you made some mistakes. And I like how Rotterdam said you try to reset, you try to just go from point zero as if this is your first game, and you can't really afford to try and play too much more careful. You can't get paranoid. StarCraft's a game you've got to be confident in. We saw Kelazhur there, eyes closed, trying to get in the zone. Snute as well, very deep in focus and thought. I think both players have got to try to just start from scratch, go in this as if it's their first game of the night.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Awesome analysis as always. It's time for game 3, and it is elimination time. Which player is going home? Will it be the Brazilian? Will it be the Norwegian? Let's find out.
All right, let's get into this then. Game number 3, Series 3 even, I should say, of the day here at the World Championship Series. As Snute finds himself in unfamiliar territory, whereas Kelazhur, I think he's been here before, unfortunately for him, and we'll try and battle on back through.
Yeah, Snute, I've seen some pretty impressive things out of him, in Terran versus Zerg. Not too long ago, he kind of struggled in the matchup, then really started to focus on it for quite a while. And back in the Roddy show matches, man, where Snute is still undefeated, he beat Bunny back then, which was still, I guess, to some extent a while back, but he had some very, very impressive games. So I'm looking forward to see how well he's going to be able to play here against Kelazhur, who, again, I respect a lot. Even though he hasn't been able to do well so far here in this tournament, he's still a very good player himself.
Well, we're already launching into this best of 3. One of these players is going home here in the round of 32 as we have spawning up to the top left-hand corner. It's our red Zerg representing Team Liquid. It is Snute. Does not want his WCS road to end here, that's for sure. And spawning down at the bottom right-hand corner as our blue Terran representing Root Gaming, it's Kelazhur. Very friendly fellow. It's always nice to see Kelazhur. It's rare I've been able to meet him. Obviously, Sao Paulo 2014, as Rotterdam was mentioning before. And then now here. So, very nice guy.
Of course, he's friendly. He lives in a beautiful country, as Roddy said. There's like the beach and it's sunny. How could you be unhappy? Even I would be happy.
Yeah.
Pig touched a little bit on how the build orders are going to affect the series, but I think it's also interesting to note that Kelazhur, when he played against Lilbo, he had some very specific build prepared, especially for in that game 1, where he went for some biomech and a massive attack. So here against Snute, maybe he might go, for something similar as, some very specific build and strong push that maybe can only work one time and be successful if you catch your opponent off guard. Even though, in terms of Zerg, I guess, it's going to be harder to use this kind of timings successfully, I think.
Well, one thing's for sure is that Snute is well versed against whatever Terran can really throw at them. He obviously has to play quite a lot against people like Bunny, for example, who he meets up against quite a bit and obviously was eliminated by him in that Season 1 finishing position. And going up against Kelazhur, I can't help but feel that Snute feels a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, you think so?
I would say so. In terms of caliber of player.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't know how familiar they are with each other.
Yes.
Even if you're better than someone in StarCraft, I guess especially actually if you're better than him, it's always good to know your opponent's style in details. But Kelazhur, he plays on the European ladder, and supposedly, even though he's a barcode on it, and Snute plays on Real ID, I'm pretty sure that Snute knows which barcode is Kelazhur, in which case if they've played well, he's already got, some data to analyze and he can go back to these games in his head, kind of know what Kelazhur is capable of, what are his strengths, what are his weaknesses, and then from there, I guess, make his own decisions on how to go about playing against him.
Well, Reaper's on the way to start things off here for Kelazhur. The second one's going to be following it up as well. And Kelazhur also knows pretty much what's going on the other side of the map as well. So, Coda being the map.
What do you think is the perfect way to say his ID?
I think
I've heard it all, man. I've heard Kaltazut, Kaltazar, Kalazar.
it's definitely not Kelazhur. Let's say that for to start off. I think Kelazhur is pretty accurate, I would say. You don't think?
Yeah, it's okay. Kelazhur, I think.
Okay.
Not Kelazhur.
Kelazhur.
It's okay.
We're going to talk in circles
Let's
here if we're
move
not
on,
careful.
James.
All right. So, picks up a drone. Really good micro there by Kelazhur. It's very difficult for these Reapers to actually get themselves a drone against very strong Zerg players, but managing to pick up just one kill is a really nice start for him.
And that third Reaper here being on the way. I feel like it's most likely going to be a third CC here behind the factory. Let's see. Oh, he's already starting to damage that Queen here. So I guess he's really going to want to be aggressive with these Reapers here when the third one gets there to try and start taking down Queens. But we have two down the ramp here. The natural, a third one's about to come out this time in the main.
You can always keep them alive, obviously, these Reapers, and then couple up with a little bit of an attack later on with potential Hellions. Third command center has been planted, though, here for Kelazhur behind all of this. And I'm just going to try and
Go home,
micro his
Queen.
heart out.
It's not safe here for you.
She's slightly off creep. She needs some help.
Oh, he's gonna...
Oh,
Gets
cutting
up
it
with 3 hit
close.
points.
Once again, though, really good control by Kelazhur. I can't help but feel, though, Snute overstayed his welcome with that Queen.
12 links. 12 links as Speed's about to finish. So I think Snute is hoping that the Reapers will stay in the middle of the map, in which case he's able to find them, kill them, and gain map control here for a little bit, at least before the Hellions come out. But Kelazhur's too good for that. He times the speed perfectly, goes on home. He has only a single SCV here down the ramp building a depot, so that means he's not going to get caught, with mules down there. Or as I said, at least one of those mules actually is going to land at the natural. He might have to pull back to the ramp here. And I don't think this is worth it here for Snute.
Yeah, certainly he's putting on a bit of pressure, but what's he really getting? The cancellation on a supply depot, and then other than that, he's kept a few of these units away from his side of the map, but it's only the two Hellions, so they wouldn't have really been darting around that much anyway until they mass up to the 4 or 6 with those Reapers.
Snute, he saw that third CC pretty early, but he seems still kind of worried about the potential for Hellbats, so he made a Roach Warren. Hasn't made a single Roach just yet. Banshee now started. Is he gonna get Cloak? I don't think so, but maybe. Oh yeah, he's gonna start Cloak.
All right.
The double gas, he has enough gas, to start that Cloak and keep on queuing Banshees.
So really continuing to put the pressure on here against Snute. That's the main thing. Snute has got a few Roaches on the way for himself. These Zerglings going to have to keep themselves alive and buy some time with the Queen at the front, but that can't buy much time because we'll take quite a bit of damage if she's not
Snute has
careful.
not much really, like just a few links, some Queens there. Some Roaches are about to come out, but Kelazhur is trading pretty well up until that once. Even saved the Reaper, oh my god.
Okay. So
He lost 1 unit this game so far.
yeah, he's doing well with this. He's even keeping the extra Reaper alive there at the back, and even the Hellion does survive as well. So Spire transition comes out of Snute, who, we haven't focused on too much in this game. It's all been about Kelazhur's aggression from here on.
Yeah. It's not going to be mech here, guys. It's going to be bio this time. So far, I guess, fairly standard here by Kelazhur, but I have to say, very good execution, not only of the harassment, but of the build in general. I don't think he made anything late. His micro's been good. He's only lost 2 units and he's killed 19 in total.
Yeah, the trades have been brilliant. Really good for him, but he needs to fully identify what is going on behind all of this. Obviously, with Spire on the way, that pretty much shuts everything down that's at the front here. So Snute is just trying to buy himself some time to make this work. And
Snute actually cancelled the third base and he's trying to evacuate with that drone towards the top right-hand side.
I clicked on the Spire as well. He knows what's up. Of course, being on 2 base for this long, what else could you really be doing here as Snute? As the Roach is trying to deal with this, but that's so many Hellions at the
He
front.
restarts the third base on the top right-hand side. Since he has to cancel it on the natural third base, he ran away with that.
Shows how much pressure has been put on. It really shows how much pressure has been put on. Kelazhur.
I mean, I don't even want to imagine how hard it's going to be to defend this against Medivacs and Bio.
Yeah. Double upgrades are on the way for Kelazhur behind this. With the engineering base down now, he could technically have missile turrets out in ample time here to greet these Mutalisks, but hasn't started them just yet with the Mutalisks about to pop.
Yeah, Snute.
There we go.
He's been having a rough time here in this game. Not much has gone in his favor, but still a bit ahead in supply. No Evo though. He's getting Roach Speed and Mutas. I wonder what's his plan here. Does he actually want to go into a regular game here from here, a standard game, or does he want to try for some move somewhere?
Oh, leaving one of the Banshees back here to maybe try and sacrifice and go for things.
There's no creep thread.
There is no creep thread,
Yeah,
you're
single
right.
Overlord is dropping creep there, but I mean, this is not your typical TvZ here.
No. I wouldn't say even this is your typical Snute, to be honest with you. He hasn't really found such a stable position just yet. Kelazhur has done really well with his aggression. Missile turret will zone out from that small area towards that third command center, and for now, it's up to the Mutalisk to keep his opponent on his side of the map. Did he clean up the Banshees? I think both of them did not die as well.
Yeah, there's one on the bottom left-hand side and one on the top left-hand side.
Yeah.
He's camping here in the corners of the map. The thing is, Kelazhur, I think he's going to realize that there's no third base, on location. And I think from there, he should be able to realize that there's, a base elsewhere. And then from there, once he knows it's the one on the top right-hand side, he's going to have so much room to, drop in the main, attack on the right-hand side at the same time. It's going to be so hard for Snute to defend that. But he's shown in the past that he can be very good himself against those Medivac drops. What really worries me here is that there is no Evo. No upgrades on the way here for Snute. I think Snute... he's probably just massing units right now, waiting for Kelazhur to move across the map to try and take a good fight and then counterattack and try to win. That's his only option. Look at this. 11 more roaches on the way.
Uh-oh. Well, yeah, with no upgrades going at the moment, there's not much more that he can do with it. And, of course, those two Banshees were saved. They're still in the mineral line here now, getting some extra kills, having been forgotten about for a little bit. Even having to morph in an Overseer, but by the time it morphs in, they'd already evacuated from that location. They can try and put on some aggression at the natural. I think they know they're on a suicide mission, though, with the Overlord, Overseer, and the Mutalisk. So get as much as you can, boys or girls, and then, unfortunately, fall to your death.
20 drones have been killed here by Kelazhur so far in this game, which brings Snute to 39 walkers against the 50. And the great thing about what Kelazhur has done is that he didn't move out. He didn't fall into Snute's trap. He stayed at home, and now he's just going to have to defend. And he's going to be in a great position if he's able to. And he sees the amount of roaches. I think he realizes how far ahead he is economically here, and that he just needs to wait until he has a little bit more army, and then he's going to be able to crush Snute's army out on the map. Snute, he cannot wait. If he waits, he's dead. If he attacks, he's dead. It's like an impossible choice here at this point.
Yeah, catch-22 situation, man. Because, Baneling Nest's on the way. Doesn't have upgrades.
Baneling Nest. That's the Zerg version of the Dark Shrine.
You've got to do something. I mean, the momentum that Kelazhur is gathering behind this, I mean, of course, Snute, yes, was technically up in supply, but it's all in roaches, which aren't going to be that successful against the big bioforce that we're seeing here from Kelazhur, with even some Hellions to buffer for it.
He saw the amount of Marines, and I think the plan here is basically going to be to get a ton of Banelings out and try and crush, the army of Kelazhur on the ground. It's not over yet, and with the Mutas, also he can defend against the drops here, Snute, with some map vision. Look at this, the Mutas looking for the Medivac drop here, potential Medivac drop. It's like they're smelling it from afar, man.
They find a command center instead, and they will be swiftly shooed away.
Man, this has been a really sad game for Snute, I have to say. Like, look at the saturation in his main and natural. He has 38 drones. Usually he starts the game with this number, like in the first 3 minutes.
Well, this Medivac is going to head on in now, and the Mutalisks are out of position to really deal with this, so it's extra damage being done here to Snute, who he has an army in the middle of the map, but it has been able to do nothing.
Yeah, he's going to send back the Mutas to defend, and I think he's going to go for the attack here in a second. He's morphing a bunch of Banelings.
If he gets the spawning pool, okay, he's going to have to trade against the Lynx here. If he'd have gotten that, that would have been amazing, but he's even just going to trade off against Mutalisks here. Loses one. Didn't even lose a single Mutalisk. That's not too bad. It's up to these Banelings and Roaches to do the big damage.
I think there's going to be 27 Banelings here in a second. Kelazhur's going to spot this coming, but he doesn't have that many Widow Mines to help defend against this. Like, the army of Snute is still a very strong one. In terms of army supply, it's 147 here for Snute. It's mostly Roaches, though. Against 125 for Kelazhur, here we go.
Can the Banelings do enough here? They're crushed into a little bit of the bio on the right-hand side of this, but they're not fast enough. They don't have centrifugal hooks, so they're not going to be able to connect with this too quickly at all. Kelazhur is going to micro back against this, and with all the Banelings gone, it's just these Roaches trying to battle off against this. The SCVs come off the line, but if he's able to hold, he's in a great economical state and a great great position. The Mutalists on the right-hand side, we're trying to actually catch some of the reinforcements as they're coming along, but a lot of this fire will sustain. There's plenty of medevacs here to keep these Marauders, importantly, alive to bring it down. GG, Kelazhur takes game number 1 and is really able to bring the fight there to Snute. Not exactly what I expected, but brilliantly executed there by him.
Yeah, that was really, really solid. Very impressive, to be honest. You know, the entire build, again, you know, the harassment he managed perfectly at the same time. He was getting his barracks, his E-base, everything on time. I have to wonder though, like, did he feel that this was coming? Because he played really shy. Like, you see a lot of Terrans just move out and move out and move out all the time. Whereas Kelazhur, he just kind of sat in his natural from a certain point, I think, realizing that he was far ahead enough that he didn't need to make anything happen, and that Snute might be trying for something like that, you know, with a big attack.
Yeah. Unfortunately for Snute, unsuccessful here in game number 1. We're going to go to a short break, and when we're back, it's game number 2 between Snute and Kelazhur. would you believe it? We've ended up in a very interesting situation as Snute is potentially one game away here from elimination in the round of 32. Kelazhur, so far, 1-0 in this series, and oh boy, if Snute is not able to pull the wins out of the bag now, he's putting himself in jeopardy here on his road to BlizzCon, whereas Kelazhur is looking for that fantastic upset to start things.
Yeah, no room for mistakes left here for Snute, and I'm a little bit worried he gets a little bit impatient here, to be honest. Like, he was asking, to start ASAP here in the lobby, and I've known him, to get very upset sometimes when losing. He's gonna have to basically keep that winner spirit here if he wants to be able to play well.
Well then, let's get into it as we have our two players as they set out on Fury Road here to get going. As we have spawning down at the bottom right-hand corner, it is our blue Zerg, it is Liquid Snute. And up to the top left-hand corner, currently one game away from keeping his hopes alive here in WCS, it is Root Kelazhur. Whoa! All right, calm down, Slick Shoes. Calm down. That was pretty sick right there. That cheeky wink.
They set on Fury Road. I see what you did there.
They've set out, man. They're on Fury Road. They're battling in their battle wagons, and unfortunately, Snute is currently on fire.
James, you're really funny sometimes. It rarely happens, but sometimes you're really...
Yeah, I was going to say, it rarely happens.
All right, so let's see what these players have in store here for us. Kelazhur, surely, like after the first game and how it went, he must be really confident here. And going to be a Gaston 12 here for a Reaper opener. Still very standard. Snute, though, man, if Snute starts, kind of losing it mentally, it's going to be almost impossible here to recover and possibly qualify. And I mean, we've talked about how difficult it is to make it out of this group, especially like if you lose the first series. The thing is, if he beats Kelazhur here, most likely, I guess he will play against Lilbo, because Hydra is probably the favorite against him, most people would say. And then he can do well against Lilbo, like he's done in the past, surely. So he needs to stay in this, man.
Do you think it gets to Snute here? I mean, you've been a competitor yourself for many a year, more than I can count actually on hands.
I don't know if that's a jab or...
So does it get to you? Does your mental fortitude break when you're up again in this kind of situation? What happens?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. Like the thing is, if you start thinking too much about why you're underperforming and you can't really figure out why and you can't fix it, then it can only go downhill from there. Like Snute, I mentioned it many times, is somebody who takes losses very, very seriously. Like some players, they stay very positive, but Snute, like you can tell, like StarCraft is his world and his life. Like it's his full-time job, it's his passion, and it means everything to him. So when he loses a series or even gets eliminated from a tournament, he's really unhappy. Now, he lost to Hydra in a very close series. He lost the first game here against Kelazhur, and I mean, it wasn't really that close. Like, he tried for something after he fell very far behind. It just didn't work out. So he needs to stay in this mentally here once again. He needs to use all of his experience in tournaments and in practice against Terran to just keep on playing his best no matter what. And we all know that if he plays his best, he can be a very, very scary player.
Yeah, and us here in Europe, privileged to have people like Pig along, who give us the insight of the Kelazhur's matchup here in TvZ is really quite phenomenal. So going into this, look how he performed in game number 1. It was stellar play. And Snute, I mean, he is no slouch in this matchup, but he was run ragged in that first game.
And to answer your question from earlier, clearly, where you compared me, in the situation, me being a professional and Snute, or an ex-professional, I probably already would have fallen apart mentally and lost.
Oh. Fair play to you.
Fair cop,
mate. Well, this command center is going to be down on spot here, and not really anything to deny. It didn't look like he sent any lings across there. These two Marines were looking to hunt down the Overlord, but couldn't find that either. So, pretty stable and standard start here for both of them, with Kelazhur going up to his starport, and there's potentially he can just do exactly the same opener again. How many Reapers did he add in total? Just the one. So it is slightly different, obviously, but other than that, he still has the same kind of tools available to him.
Yeah. It looked a little bit weird, actually, last game, how Snute, he saw the third CC, but then he sent his Overlord very far out, so then he couldn't send it back in as early as he would have liked to, and then I guess he didn't really see the Banshee coming until it was kind of late. And then he lost just so many walkers. Even the 3 initial Reapers, to be honest, did a lot. But in this game so far, he's been the one, applying some decent pressure. Remember, though, in the previous game, one of the things that really puts Snute behind is not just losing those first, few units and the 1 queen. It's really making as many Zerglings as he made, and then losing them, doing absolutely nothing at the natural of Kelazhur. But in this game, this time, Snute's not going for a Ro32 to try and counter the Hellbats. And guess what? This time Kelazhur is going for Hellbats. So this could get scary very, very quickly.
Snute, I feel, is anticipating. Baneling Nest already going down here. He saw that it was only 1 Reaper, no commitment of more gas towards that direction, and seeing the Hellions at the particular time that he has.
Yeah, but against Hellbats, is it really good to go for Banelings?
I've seen Banelings do all right against it from time to time. I mean, obviously, you kind of want Roaches. Spine Crawlers going down at the front as well to try and hold that.
This is Grandmaster level, Kelazhur.
Okay. I've seen it in some
I mean, you're right. But I fully expect Kelazhur to, kind of see this and then split. And I mean, Banelings, they kind of tickle Hellbats. But I guess he has a good amount of queens.
I mean, he could do damage to the 3rd base. I don't know if he's busting up this ramp. There is a Spine as well as 3 queens there, and the extra units that he's made in response to knowing the potential of what is coming along here. But he can't bring the queens to this 3rd location. That's the big problem. Yeah. They're slowly going to trundle over there to deal with it. Here come the Banelings at the front, separating up some of these units as best as he can do. Those 5 Banelings, have they really done much? No, they haven't, as there's plenty more Hellbats here. And the Lings are completely gone. The Queens are stranded. Oh, this is a disaster here for Snute. Trying to spread the Queen forward, so these Queens need to get back towards it. The Lings try and filter through again, but it's all for nothing.
This is going from bad to worse here for Snute. In the previous game, went for the Roaches to try and counter and some kind of Hellbat push. It didn't come. This game goes for the Baneling Nest. This time there's Hellbats, and they're just wrecking him at this point.
Good. Didn't do too bad, those Banelings there, but the Marines are really telling the story at the back of all of this. They will eventually get cleaned up by the looks of things, thanks to the extra Banelings that have been able to morph in. But it was a huge investment to try and shut that down through all of that.
The thing is, there's no 3rd command center. I fully expect it to start here very soon, but there is no 3rd CC just yet. And 39 drones against 31 SCVs, I guess the hold was good enough. It looked very scary for a second. I really thought that, Snute might even leave the game. But he stayed in there, barely defended, and at this point he's going to be able to drone comfortably here for some time, gets 1 spore in each base because he knows that there is, the Banshees with Cloak once again.
I mean, of course, Snute did trade off a lot there, right? But we can't take it away from him that despite, losing a little bit himself, it was still a really, really strong hold. Like, he was still able to do pretty well there to not die off completely, bringing his extra queens forwards for the defense, whilst having that little bit of creep extra that was spread out.
I think chasing the queens might have been a mistake here in the end, because if he hadn't done that, Kelazhur would have been able to kill the 3rd base, and then at least save, like a bunch of units in his medivac, lose the rest, but at least not trade what was left of his units for Snute that just, barely held in the end. Killing that 3rd base would have been a massive deal, actually.
Yeah, look how healthy it is right now. Of course, not so healthy itself, but in terms of economical position, very, very healthy indeed. This Spore Crawler really wants to burrow, help out a little bit of the positioning against these Banshees.
Yeah, in terms of upgrades, Kelazhur is actually going to be super late here in this game, as opposed to the previous game, because he went for Hellbats this time. So that's something that Snute has going for him here, since he has the 1-1, already very close to completion. Double Spore in natural, man. Snute is as sick of Banshees and drops as I am of Widow Mines with my cannons in my bases.
That's a lot of commitment. That's quite a bit of commitment, but one thing's for sure, it's probably not going to be too easy for his opponent to get in there. 1-1 is already completed, though, for Snute, who is gone down the melee direction here with all of this. So we've seen a lot of, laying Bang Muta into eventually Ultra, also all importantly, on a map like this. Because of the way in which Terrans have to kind of spread out their bases after the 3rd one in particular, and it can be really punishing.
Snute has delayed the Spire a lot, by the way. He hasn't started it yet. Instead of starting the Spire, he went for Baneling speed and 2-2 upgrades. I wonder why he's delaying it so much. I don't think he wants to go for a timing, but...
Do you think he's scared of the aggression here from Kelazhur?
I mean, he has the money, it's not that costly to go to add a Spire right now. He has it now. I think he forgot about it, maybe, for some time. Maybe he thought he had already made it.
Well, the Hellbats have already killed themselves off one queen, trying to clean up as much of this creep as possible. There's not that many units here, really. 26 Zerglings are about to pop, but if they pop sporadically and hit into these Hellbats, they're not going to do much at all. The Banshees are bringing down the Banelings.
Oh my god, the Spire was being made right there, so he had to cancel that. Snute in panic
Is this it? Is this it? I mean, he's got links on the way from every single angle, but the Hellbats are in between everything here. The Banshees are doing huge damage as well. Is this where Snute goes out? The big Baneling connection actually caught a lot of those Hellbats at the front, but the Banshees are being answered, Todd. 54 army supply against 15. Snute has nothing. He's going to lose his Baneling Nest before Centrifugal Hooks even finishes. This is a disaster here for one of the best non-Koreans in the world. And here in Group E, he is absolutely being devastated. This is crippling damage. Brutal damage to the natural falls. Everything in the main base is going to die off as well. The Banshee Hellbat Marine push that's come out here from Kelazhur with aggression after aggression, and the commitment here to upgrades here for Snute is just, it's not working. It's not working at all, Todd.
Yeah, as disappointing a loss as this is going to be here for Snute. Brazil came in strong this series.
Yeah, don't focus on that. Focus on how big this is for Kelazhur at the moment. He is ahead and winning here against Snute. The macro hatch falls. Very few units left here for Snute. Kelazhur with the power of Terran, the aggression that he's been able to show in these past two games, and an amazing performance from him in this series. And, well, that's pretty much going to be it. Snute is probably in disbelief. He's not leaving this game. He does not want to give this up at all, but he is absolutely destroyed, Todd.
I mean, this is the best and biggest StarCraft II tournament, and going out of it, you know, when you've put in this much work for weeks practicing for this, has to be tough here for Snute, but
unbelievable.
He's going to have to come to terms with this result here in a second.
The power here is strong. Kelazhur 2-0 here in the losers match of Group E. What a result for him. Regardless of what happens from here on out, a 2-0 versus Snute. Brilliant stuff there from Kelazhur.
Really well played. This is, you know, more of what I expected out of him in the first series against Lilbo. You know, just good standard play. He's very good at it. He's very good, you know, at reading the game, what he needs to do, what he needs not to do, when to drop, when not to drop. And this is really, you know, what we saw here from him in this series. Very, like, in terms of execution, you know, everything, you know, the build, the micro, the harassments, this was top level StarCraft II. I almost feel like, you know, as if I was watching a top Korean Terran up to some extent. Maybe I'm exaggerating a bit, but this was definitely very impressive to me.
Yeah, really good stuff there by Kelazhur. So big congratulations to him for moving on to the final match of the day. But let's pause for a moment and think about the repercussions of all of this, because Snute going out in the round of 32 in last place in this group, I don't think a lot of people predicted that. And also now, what does that mean for his chances on the road to BlizzCon? Because this is a big chunk of points that he's going to be missing out on, Todd.
I think Lilbo's probably pretty happy. Like, he beat Kelazhur already, so now he has a chance at trying to beat Hydra, and then if he fails, he has to play Kelazhur again. But then again, remember the curse of the guy that loses the first time, but then always wins the second time in the decider match. So, gonna be interesting for the rest of the group.
All right, well, that does it from us here at the caster's desk. Let's head over to the analysis desk with Sean Apollo Clark, and of course, it's our winner. Moving on, it's Kelazhur.
Thank you very much, Kalaris and Todd. Joined with the winner of the elimination game, Kelazhur. Just explain what's going through your mind. That's a massive win for you.
I'm quite happy. It's not that I didn't expect this, but after my games versus Lilbo, I was very frustrated, very flustered, and I don't know, I'm just feeling great.
How did you compose yourself? I mean, you took the loss versus Lilbo. You then get put up against, either way, it was going to be a difficult opponent. Snute, you're sitting on the stage. We saw you there lying back, closing your eyes. What were you trying to do? Just calm yourself down?
Well, the thing is, I don't think I got enough sleep. So I was feeling very tired in my games versus Lilbo. So after the games, I just went to the couch upstairs and took like a 30-minute nap.
The power nap to victory.
Yeah, I felt like a new man. And as you saw, like on the chair, I was resting my eyes as well. Just getting the most I can.
It was a really impressive way you played there, and I wanted to talk just a little bit about that second game where you dealt what I call the Kelazhur special, something you defeated me with quite a few times as well, and it's a very typical sort of Hellbat Medevac Marine timing, but what really impressed me there was how you saw the spine crawler, you saw the banelings, and you calmly said, I'm not going to try and force my way through here, I'm going to pull back, I'm going to force him to come to me, I'm going to threaten this third. Did you feel like you were in a bit of a bad position when you saw the banelings, or are you so practiced with that build that you were calm?
Yeah, when I saw the spine and the Banelis morphing, I was like, well, this might be hard because the build that I do, the reason it's strong is because I cut SCVs at 23. So you can imagine how all in it is. I stopped making SCVs for like maybe 2 minutes. So I'm really low on worker count. That's why I commit even though there's banelings. But I felt like I shouldn't this time, and I guess it worked out.
It was absolutely, dominating there with especially the second wave is what I find really interesting there. And the 4 Banshees, there's a point where the Zerg player is sitting there, and I'm sure Snute was thinking, there's medevacs on the way, there's a 3rd command center. And whilst you are building up your economy behind that, I love that second wave with that 4 Banshees. Is that something you invented on your own?
Yes, I usually do a second wave in because I'm not sure if you noticed, but I scanned Snoot's main to see the timing of his lair, and it was super late. So I figured if I just match Banshees now, I can attack with around 4, and he won't have mutas, which is basically what you need for the second wave. So it worked out really well. He didn't scout. I made sure I had Marines on the edges, so he wouldn't scout the second wave. And yeah.
Here's a question for you, Diego. I mean, Pig's going to relate to this a lot too. Coming from Brazil to play in the World Championship Series that is such a global tournament that gives opportunities to players such as yourself, how does every win feel for you, knowing that you're getting a step closer and closer and closer? And how much does it mean to you to play in the WCS?
Well, it means a lot. WCS gave me an opportunity for a career in pro gaming. I don't think I would have been able to without WCS, and the help of Root was very nice as well. But every win feels very special because I have a lot of fans in Brazil rooting for me. Every win, they tweet at me, they send good messages, and it's just awesome.
All right, great. Thank you for that. Best of luck in the next match, and we hope you can hopefully proceed through to Canada in the round 16 season finals. Thank you very much, Pig. It's time to look at the bracket and get ready for the next match. It's going to be the winners match to decide which player is going to be in first place and which player will fall down to play against Kelazhur in the decider match. Is it going to be the Frenchman going through in first place, or is Hydra going to continue to steamroll his way through the World Championship Series Premier League and find himself at another season finals? We'll find out which way this will go in a couple of moments. Until then, we'll be right back.